Welcome. I'm Lori Marie with Deep Thynkers Society, and you are listening to an Evolve 24 production. Today in our podcast, we have the owner of Esoteric Echoes, Stephen Ulrich. Stephen is a reader who is passionate about symbolism, and he uses it in his readings when he sits with clients to help them learn their way through life. Today, we had a great show, and I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you. So here we go. Hey there, everybody. This is Lori Marie and my co-host, Maddie Frequency. How are you doing today, Maddie? Good.
I'm good.
Yeah. We have Stephen Ulrich with us today, the owner and founder of Esoteric Echoes. We were reading over your bio, Stephen, and you mentioned that you received a glimpse into dimensions and you had perspectives that you knew existed. So I wanted to kind of like touch base on, first of all, a little bit about you and Esoteric Echoes and that glimpse into other dimensions that you talked about.
Okay, what would you like to know?
Just tell the audience a little bit about you. We know about you. We know that you're into symbolism and reading, but just share a little bit about yourself with us. Maybe, how you founded Esoteric Echoes and.
Okay, blue collar background. As it happens with most people during a time of your life, you have a dark night of the soul or a personal emergency or whatever, and that tends to open you up. It allows you to see quite a bit more. It gives you a pause in understanding. It's well, that didn't work, let's look at this other stuff. So basically, from a blue collar perspective, I started looking into what some people might call woo-woo. A lot of my friends and family thought I was crazy. Not sure they were wrong, but you start seeing and appreciating various things. Psychology is one thing, philosophy is another. These are definitely different views than the blue collar guy going and having a six-pack after work or the barbecue on the weekend. And I was for various reasons, drawn into tarot and things beyond myself. It was like I was suddenly began reaching to understand things that were never even on my mind before.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah, it sounds like you had like a just a sudden awakening, and you kind of went on that path to understand it. And a lot of people who want to understand that newfound desire to figure things out find their way through different divination tools. So it sounds like you went on the path of tarot, and then also something that you're pretty well known for, which is symbolism. Am I right?
I think so. I believe so, but I can't speak for others, what I'm well known for. But it was kind of like I opened Pandora's box. Life is good, life is simple, and then suddenly you open Pandora box and you see so much more, and you just seek to understand it.
So symbolism. So what is it about symbolism that drew you in? Because it's a passion of mine right there with numerology.
Well, symbolism, and when people talk about symbolism, they think of the occult, really odd things with arcane meanings. And symbolism, the letter A is the foundation of the English language, and that's a simple symbol. And the letter A is just three lines with one line shorter than the others. And they also lead us places. They're a clue, a bookmark, if you will. The star of the pentagram is just 5 lines, but it's put together in such a way that it gives a person an understanding, a perspective, a leading, and that combines with their own personal philosophies and understandings. So if you were to see a star and I would see the same star. We might have totally, from our foundations of how we became who we are, we might have totally different meanings for that.
Yeah.
In Christianity, the pentagram is the 5 wounds of Christ. Where the pentagram first started, I think it was in ancient Samaria, and they're not really sure
I think so.
what was the foundation. Yeah, it's amazing to study, and I'm hoping that since it's so vast and so hard to pin down, it's kind of like explaining it's kind of like nailing cello to the tree. But I urge everybody to do their own research and try to come up with their own perspective on the pentagram, on the letter A, on the 1111, on whether it's numerology or whether it's repeating numbers, or you find your own groove. You get in your lane and you understand what suits you. It's
So that makes a lot of sense, and that kind of brings me to one of the first questions I had wanted to ask you, because I really do agree symbolism can be very personable. And so for me, I was wondering if you have an explanation for the difference between a symbol and a sigil.
a sigil is very personal, and it's I'm not that up on sigils. It's something that is on my path to understand. But a sigil, like the archangels have sigils,
Right.
and it's a personal standard. It's kind of like bringing who you are together and trying to explain it in several symbols put together. That's my understanding. But
Yeah.
I don't understand.
As I've studied symbolism like yourself, I agree that we make symbols our own. But my understanding, and tell me how this feels to you, is that a sigil, anybody could make a sigil. A sigil is about putting intention into a symbol that you create, or not even always a symbol, but maybe even an emblem or something that you create on your own that represents your intention. And anytime you put or recreate that sigil of your intention, you're sort of putting that energy out into the world, almost similar to that of maybe magicians who had, or wizards who made spells in the air, where they created the symbols in the air, and witches who created their own magic spells, or their own, they put intention into something, and and the energy was created. And I was under the impression a sigil was similar to that, in the sense that, because I naturally create sigils without intention when I channel my art, symbols come through. And to me, that those are sigils, but those aren't sigils that I'm consciously making, if that makes sense. I could be off, but that's the main reason I wanted to talk to you today, because I know you've been studying symbolism and working with it, on how you felt about that definition.
That's as far as I know, that's a very good. Like I said, I haven't got into it that deep, but if you have a certain symbol for peace or serenity, that's something you use before you meditate. If you have a certain sigil for kindred spirits, recently I made my own for kindred spirits. You've seen the 2 circles that overlap.
Yeah.
That's the sigil I made for my own personal kindred spirit, because it's people who are different, and yet we are similar in certain ways. A love for symbolism, for instance. So we are kindred spirits because you love symbolism and I love symbolism. So I created that, and to put intention out.
Right.
If the universe doesn't know what you want, they're not going to bring it your way. So the symbols and the sigils are to allow the spirit guides, your guardian angels, ascended, whatever your belief system is to allow them to understand you because if your spirit guide is a Roman soldier, he's probably not going to understand English. That type of thing.
Yeah, you touched at a topic that has came up quite a bit for me lately, and that with symbolism, our English language, actually our human way of communicating through language, is all symbols and symbolism, and with that, each word that we create, creates an energy. And I was talking about how language is so limiting because of the fact that, especially with the English language, we create words off of words, and then we jade words, like we take away the energy from words because we misuse it, or and a word could mean one thing to one person and another thing to another person, whereas a universal language would be much more efficient, because a universal language would be something that we would speak with aliens, or we would speak with animals, or we would speak with our spirit guides who aren't present with us. And a universal language would be more in an alignment with energy and with, feeling, and zero to do really with words. Words are just so limiting.
Well, and then what you said, we speak with aliens and stuff. Astrophysicists believes that numbers, because numbers are tangible. A 9 always means 9 spaces away from 0, or the mean. So they that believe that prime numbers is how we will, or according to an article I read, we'll put it that way, that prime numbers are how we will, if we ever do communicate with aliens, that's how we'll do it, because it's tangible. It never changes. Now there are intangible numbers, but those are a different animal. But according to that article, that's how we're going to communicate with numbers, prime numbers.
How do you feel about that? Did that vibe with you?
Well, 15 years ago, I would say no. But since the 555, the 1111, okay, I'm on a diet, so I keep seeing 314, which means pie.
Yeah. So again,
That's funny.
yeah, 1111. So, and speaking to aliens and all that. So, Matt, chime in on this, because I know you have a perspective, but chime in on the fact that, so I believe, I've come to feel that 1111 and number patterns are the source's way of catching our attention. And just like sigils, or just like words, number patterns, they get assigned meaning to them by the intention we give them. So years ago, literally right before 9/11, I started seeing 911 on the clock all the time, and it was so crazy that I thought there was something wrong with me. And I jumped on Ask Jeeves, because that's what we had back then. And I was like, what's going on? And I realized it was more of a phenomenon. Other people were seeing it too. It wasn't uncommon. And a couple years later, I started seeing the 1111, and then it ended up becoming a thing for 1111. But I was already in my intuitive state with 1111, and I was feeling like it was definitely like a sign from outside of our realm somehow, some way. And so you had stated maybe aliens, but I really think it's more of
Interdimensional.
So you think it's what?
Interdimensional.
Yeah, so an interdimensional in the sense that everything that exists is consciousness, including other beings and other dimensions and other realities, right? They're just a form of consciousness somewhere else. So it's a way of waking us up to knowing that we're not the only ones here. And we can assign whatever meaning, some people believe that when they see 1111, they're making a wish, right? Yeah. And some people, for me, 1111 just means wake up. And when I hear other people start seeing it, then I was like, oh, finally, you're catching up. But for me, and even my daughter, which is surprising, she sees number patterns. She's like, hey, mom, 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock. Or, hey, mom, what, and she catches number patterns. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool that like she doesn't really quite realize it, but she's tapped in and she's starting to become, aware of these types of things. But as far as like Matt said, interdimensional, I think that other species that are a little more advanced beyond seeing 1111 or maybe even beyond numbers, they don't need to use words. They telepathically send, like, if they were to talk to us, I feel like they would telepathically send a message, but our brain would interpret it the way we know how to understand. But they are really just sending a frequency that we're picking up on and filtering through our brain as a language. And like you said, Stephen, that is going to be numbers, because our, the stages that a lot of people are at in our human world are science-based and math-based and geometrical-based and number-based, right? I mean, if you think about it, that's what they started with. The consciousness started waking us up by seeing number patterns. So I don't think at all that, I think you're completely right. That is how they're going to, but it's more of how we're going to filter what they're telling us, if that makes sense.
It does. And if I could expand on that or add a different pathway, I have the metaphysical or the spiritual definition of synchronicities here. So what does synchronicity mean spiritually? Synchronicities are incidents of spiritual significance that ask us to momentarily dampen our self-obsession and consider the possibility of the divine. Synchronistic experience leave us with a curious sense that we should pay more attention.
Yeah. See?
Well, when you're talking about communication, like tongues, where they send it to your brain and you just understand things like that, how do we know this isn't what's happening with synchronicity?
No, that's exactly what's happening. You said the key word at the very end right there. You said grabbing our attention. All the universe wants us to do is wake up. And wake up doesn't mean what some people think it means. Wake up means remember who you are. And who we are is not our ego or our I or our name or our human self. Who we are is all that we're connected to. Like all of interdimensional. Well, we are interdimensional, multidimensional beings, and not the human self, our consciousness. All we have to do is shift, and then bam, we're literally somewhere else, but our human brain it's capable of all the things we're talking about. But in the stage that we're at, and that's why we have to go through that ascension, we have to filter through what comes through to what we know, what we've, observed. I just wrote a blog post today about seeing is believing, and about how scientists, have proven that things don't exist until we observe it, right? So if we start seeing 1111, then it's already starting to wake us up. It's already starting. We now see it. I taught my daughter this the other day. I said, you know what, Naomi? I go, have you ever noticed that you never see a particular car, and then like you see it for the first time and you're like, oh, that's cool. I've never seen it, or I've never seen that color before. I've never seen that name. And then next thing you know, all you do is see that car like all the time. That's like a crime.
It's like the 1111. You've probably seen that 1 billion times in your life, but it didn't stop you and make you think.
Right.
So,
Yep. It's just a way of, waking, you up. And that's why when you said you suddenly had this calling and then you reach for tarot. Well, I see that in young people. They have a desire to want to know like the secrets of life, and they immediately go toward the Ouija board, or they immediately go toward, scary movies or ghost stories, things that like are outside of the norm. And those are the kids that are going to wake up a little bit, quicker because they're curious. They want to know. They're
Yeah.
open, letting that in. Can you relate to that, Matt?
Yes, I can relate to that. Yeah, level lead was stupid back in the day, and now it's just like, oh, guys, you're getting my attention. I know this. Been through this for years, decades. Yeah, it's a synchronicity. It's a powerful role in ascension process and rising up, spiritually through life and through everything.
Yeah, I think so too. So, Stephen, remember, you and we sat together not very long ago, and I gave you a reading, and I was telling you about some of the things that I seen coming forward for you, in regards to like energy and consciousness. And have you like meditated on any of that, or do you have anything to share with us on that?
The traveling again really stuck with me because I was told 5 years ago I was going to travel, and I said, "Oh, you're full of it. I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm comfortable here." And within 6 weeks, the house was for sale, and I was looking for RVs. And I traveled for 2 years, so I sat with that. But it seems like for whatever reason, I am overwhelmed with energies coming in. Like I said, I've got some projects around the house, projects I'm helping people with. And every time I think I've got a little breath of fresh air, something comes in. It's like the universe is keeping me off balance. And that's a good thing, because if you are too balanced, sometimes you get in that focus.
Yeah.
And where if you're a little bit off balance and you're not sure what's coming, you might see some stuff you'd otherwise overlook.
Yeah. Do you get visions at all? Because I could imagine, like, it's coming into my thought pattern that you're going to start having, if you're not already, lots more visions. And maybe that's what the message is as far as traveling goes. Traveling might not mean literal. It might mean that you'll be maybe astral traveling, or maybe your consciousness might shift and get knowledge from elsewhere. Do you meditate?
I do. Not well enough or long enough, but basically recently, since we talked, it's like going in and looking around.
Oh yeah.
See, a lot of my lecture and the symbolism is also intertwined with the theory of the conscious, the subconscious, and the superconscious. So when I go inside and look around, it's like I'm in a big cavern, I guess, and I just see what shows up. And it helps me, and it allows me to keep my perspectives open. And with the symbolism, it is always leading me someplace. I saw a person once, and with this person, I got a flash of a big canoe. Not just your regular canoe like the Boy Scouts use, but the Northwestern canoe that's big, takes a crew. And that's about carrying your abundance, because you carry your stuff in the canoe when they would travel. And so I get things like that, and which is, I guess, a touch of clairvoyance, but I'm very careful about saying that, because I like to cite my sources.
Because words are limiting. It's the truth. When you say certain words, people attach their own meanings that they've come to know. And I agree. I hold off on certain words. The one word I'm comfortable with is channel, because I feel like we're all open channels. It's just some of us can filter it through and some of us can't. But when it comes to other words, like psychic, I feel like that word is so loaded, and so dated.
Yeah.
It's interesting you say open channel, because when I do my readings, I tell people that you're going to be more intuitive if you lose your biases. Your biases close you off. It's like trees that doesn't allow you to see the found.
Yeah.
So things like that, using symbolism in ways that helps describe. And then when you use symbolism with people, you don't limit it to words. You can expand it to their imagination.
Yeah.
And that's where the symbolism lives, breathes, and expresses.
I would love to
Yep.
see you do your work. Would you be interested in like tapping into our energy, mine and Matthew's, and telling us if you see a symbol or you know what comes through to you, so that maybe we could meditate on it? You know, see like maybe what you get from that.
Well, I got a wing on his left side for Matthew, and the wing was black with gold tapestry. On you, I've got maybe an I Ching symbol. It was like a pentagon or a sectagon. I can't, but yeah. And I'm afraid I didn't do very well there, because we're talking, we struggled with the technology. I'm a little bit rattled. I'm an introvert and I'm talking openly.
You're
So
doing great. I'm fully vibing with you. You're doing great. Matt, when he mentioned the wing, what vibe did you get out of that? What came to your mind?
I'm not sure. Russell Crowe, Russell Brand. He had that black crow on his show. No, I don't know. A black wing with gold. I have to think more about that. I don't know. It may take me a minute to.
It couldn't. And it's possible it wasn't a wing, but it resembled that. It was almost like a Chinese kite wing. Oh, you got me using my hands now. We're in trouble. So, but yeah.
The I Ching fit me because I have a lot of Asian like symbols and rustic type Asian art throughout my home. Yeah, so I can pick up on that. For Matt with the black wing, I can see that in the sense that maybe you're shifting, and you know, two black wings, maybe you let go of one of the black wings because of something from your past, and maybe you need to either you need to let go of the other black wing, or you need to grow back your wings so that you could see things from a higher perspective.
Fly high.
I only saw the one black wing, and it was on his left side, or his receptive side.
There you go.
Okay.
So maybe you need to start receiving more and giving less.
Maybe.
Opening up to receiving so that you have two wings. Yeah. I think that's definitely something to meditate on.
Yeah, definitely will.
Matt, you had a bunch of questions that you had jotted down. Did you want to ask Stephen any of them?
Yeah, I got a couple here. Let's see. I think we went over a couple. Like symbolism translates language, and how does symbolism transcend language? And I think we've already kind of done that. You can go into that more. Symbolism arising from the subconscious, importance of dreams, and in interpreting symbols within dreams, how symbols in dreams are significant in my life.
Well, a lot of times symbolism in dreams are significant because they send you seeking answers. You're doing research on what you've experienced, and that leads you to a plethora of interesting and cool stuff. It's when we stop learning, we die. So if a dream bothers you to the point where you're doing research on it, you're learning, you're growing, you're expanding, you're becoming. And it's
Nice.
interesting how synchronicity plays a part in what you discover. Because those things that aren't typical might come before you. I've had some things that impacted my life a lot, and they've only come before me the one time, but they impacted me so much that my clairsentience said, yes, that's right. That's something that fits me and my situation. And I use that in my tarot readings. And it just, but I've never seen it again. So the universe showed me something.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
if you're searching for things, it allows the universe to show you a lot of different things.
You know, that's funny you say it
I
like that, because what I do literally, not even figuratively, literally, when I have a question that I would like the universe to respond to me, I put it out there and I just say, you know, I say to myself mostly, so I'm like conscious of and mindful of doing it, but I say that I'm open to receiving the message in the way that you know, want me to understand it. And so that will be where I'll let it go, and then maybe a song will come on, and then I'll get like a aha. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Well, there's my answer. Or
Yep.
I'll be in the grocery store, and the people behind me will be talking, and they'll say something, and I'll be like, "There we go. There's
Yep.
my answer. You know,
Mhm.
there's my
Yep.
information."
Totally.
Our billboard. That's the billboard, or the license plates, or you know. When you think you're in La La Land, and you're just going about your day, the universe is still talking to you. You just
Mhm.
have to be open
You
to
have to,
receive.
yep,
Do you get coincidences like that, Matt?
I do all the time, daily, and even more and more recently. Like I'll be saying something in my head, and someone's saying it out loud in the grocery store or wherever, just right.
Yeah.
I just laugh. I'm like, I don't know.
Yep. It's totally fun.
Synchronicities, they get more and more. It's ramping up, and it's just more like, oh, that's just how the universe is working. It's nothing big anymore. It used to be, wow, I
Well,
keep seeing
not
11,
for
11. I'm going
us.
crazy. Yeah, not for us.
Not for us, but for other people out there. I'm
Mhm.
sure the ones that are just starting to wake up a little bit, and they're like, what the heck is going on? And I think normalizing conversations that you and I and Stephen are having, normalizing these conversations and digging deeper, help people realize that, yeah, there's nothing wrong with you. There's
Yeah.
absolutely nothing wrong with you.
It's natural.
And as you grow and expand, you realize there's a lot more, like the 1111, for instance. To
Mhm.
backtrack
Yep.
a little bit, on base 2 binary, 1111, which is zeros and ones, indicates on. But if you work with it enough, you'll sooner or later come up with your own individual explanation rather than the generic one. But it's important that you learn every way you can,
Yep.
because you don't know what situations you're going to be in.
Yep. And if you're aware, like when you're driving or walking or whatever, and you start noticing those things again. So for me, it started with 9/11, and then it went to 11/11. But eventually I started seeing 3 number patterns in general. And so I started associating those number patterns with what was happening in the moment, or what I was thinking about. And so the most prominent one for me is whenever I see the number pattern of 227 or 772, or anything with like 272. When I see those 3 numbers together, usually 277 most often, I know that some abundance is coming to me, like abundance. Everything's going to be okay, like monetarily, or if I have any worries about, receiving it. And every single time I start seeing those numbers over and over, and I keep something positive happens, and I randomly get a check in the mail from something I forgot all about, or, I get a bonus at work, or win the lottery ticket, whenever I start seeing it, usually plays out. So it's just us becoming mindful as we start seeing those symbols in our pathway. And that synchronicity of seeing those patterns is what's waking us up to more. And it's like the more you become aware of these little things that are happening, you know, at first you feel crazy, but then the synchronicities start happening more and more often. And then you start to feel like, oh, maybe I'm psychic, you know, or something like that. Or, oh, maybe I should start using tarot. Well, you know what? Yeah, you probably should, because that's the universe just saying, hey, we're tapped in, we're connected. You're plugged in now, you know? And that's my like way of telling people out there, just become mindful. And that's one of the things I do for one of my I do like art life coaching, or art like mindful coaching, but using art to become mindful, you know, because anything, like, people think meditating is the only way to be mindful, but it's not true. You know, if Stephen, if you start doing some of those projects around your house that you really want to get to, if you're doing them in a very methodical, very like free flowing way, that can be meditative, you know, because you're focused on the work and you're leaving the outside world behind, and you're tuned out, and therefore the universe can start sending you, you know, messages or information you needed. And really, that's mindfulness, and meditation is just about tuning out and tuning in, and you can do it anyway.
Yep. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to journal.
Yes. Or
I always nag people to journal, because it slows your mind down. Your 1,000 flying monkeys have got to go to the sidelines while you sort things out. It's just in my opinion, it's very important.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. I journal. I journal, and I color. When I color, I zone out. I love, you know how people are addicted to watching those satisfying videos, you know, like when they see, maybe you don't know, but I think, Matt, you might relate, where, you know, they might like seeing how like bottles rolling down the stairs break, or they might like the way cutting soap, you know, like breaks off into like a little, and it kind of like, it's a brain thing. It's like a satisfying your brain kind of thing. Google it sometime and Google satisfying videos, and then you'll know what I mean. But they're clips of things that, like, for some reason your brain wants to see them, and it kind of releases stress from the brain. And I kind of feel like when I color, I get in a very, like, I'll color in a rhythm, and it'll go and it'll flow, and my brain starts to like release like all this like tension, because I'm so stuck on the way the colors look while I'm moving my marker across the page, and that's how you get into trance states. I mean, think about it. Hypnosis.
Yeah, it's a form of meditation. Yeah.
Remember hypnosis? It's a form of spiral. It releases the tension in your brain.
Yeah.
What do you do to meditate?
Meditations in different ways. I can meditate with my eyes open. I mean, I can meditate all the time. Writing music is very meditative for me. Very meditative. Picking up my guitar and just strumming, and then just writing a song, singing, and then sometimes, you know, it's gotten so intense where I'm writing a song and I'm playing it and I'm writing it in the moment, and I just start bawling. Like that's happened before, like a couple times. One main time, and I recorded it. I wish I had that somewhere, but like it was just so intense. It was both spiritual, active creation.
Like maybe it like was it a release of some sort? Like you released.
Releasing so much, sadness and pain, and you know. It came out, and I didn't mean for it to come out. It just came out. You know, I was in the moment, and it just, you know, it was beautiful. It was extremely beautiful. And that and doing art, you know, art has been a passion of mine, but I don't do art as much. I do more digital art now, you know, but yeah, that's all a release of what do we say? Like consciousness coming out, out, and it's very healing. It's very healing. I mean, I would, if it wasn't for music, man, and art, you know, it's my life, man. And writing,
some people think Go ahead.
Good.
Okay. Yeah.
I was gonna say, and journaling, but journaling. I look at this book right now. I look at it right now. We started this 4 months ago, 3 months ago. My little book here that I got from church, a church I went to. It's almost full of notes, and I used to do this with writing lyrics. Like I can't write a blog right now, but I can write really good lyrics. I can write simple stuff and put it to music.
Yeah.
But
You're just rewiring your brain. You're waking it back up again. You're starting to use it in ways. Good for you.
I'll get that blog down soon. I don't know. It's gonna take me a minute.
Go ahead, Stephen.
Well, and another thing too, when you're doing your own thing, be it music or coloring, and you're knocking down the walls to keep you from embracing yourself. And we need to embrace our true self, not who society says we are, because society's got an agenda. It's who we truly are and who our soul and our spirit guides see us as.
It's whatever it feels right. If it feels right, then it's right. And it doesn't matter if anybody else doesn't. I mean, some people, as crazy as it may seem, might want to put their underwear on backwards and under their pants, and they might want to wear their shirt on top of their head, and walk it in their backyard and do their gardening. And to me and you, that might seem very peculiar, but it felt right for them. And why do we have the right to say anything about it? For some, maybe energetically, they needed to do that. You know what I mean?
There's been stranger fads.
There have been.
That's so true. So true. I mean, look at the punk rock era. Like they really had to get creative just to show that they weren't going to do what you wanted them to do. Except I felt like theirs was intentional. The punk rock era. I love the punk rock era.
Yeah.
And more of the music than really I never really dug the style too much, but the mohawk would never really look good on me, I don't think. But I think that's kind of the prime example of just but Stephen, you said be authentic, be yourself, do what feels right for you. And don't worry about what other people think, because it has nothing. Your experience in this life has nothing to do with them. The challenge people have with being authentic is the fact that as humans, we want to connect and we want to be accepted. We don't want to be rejected from the tribe. But if you're rejected from the tribe from being your authentic self, then you're in the wrong tribe.
It's not your tribe.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You just need to find a new tribe.
Well, being rejected it allows you to be an individual, think your own thoughts, do your own things. The most horrible thing I can think of is following people blindly and doing what I might feel is wrong to be part of the crowd. That would be horrible for me. And I'm sure most people would agree with that.
Yeah.
But I can't really speak for most people.
And it goes with any job you do too. Like people work just for the money, or they do the job, because they feel obligated, or they don't know how to say no. So they do it anyways. And therefore you're not putting, the right energy into it, because you're not doing it from a place of free will or authenticity or, passion. You're doing it, for the wrong reasons. I tell people all the time, if you don't like getting up to go to work in the morning, if you don't look forward to what you do, then you're doing the wrong thing, because we spend so much time in our daily job that we should be doing something that we're passionate about, and we should be enjoying our going to work, and we should be, happy. And maybe art is, what makes you happy. Well, then find a way within the job you do have to be more creative. If you're a chef and you hate cooking, then find a way to be creative in the kitchen when you're cooking, just find a way, because you're making me food and you're putting energy into that food when I go to your restaurant. And if you're putting in, I don't want to be here, I hate this job, my life sucks, into the food you're making for me, then energetically I'm picking that up, and you're in the wrong job.
Yeah.
And I'm in the wrong restaurant.
Yeah.
If you don't love what you do, how can you self-actualize? How can you become who you must become?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the Reiki thing. Just for today, let me do my work well. And you can't do your work well if you don't love it.
Yeah.
So
100%. If you had anything, any message, and this is from your heart to the universe and all the people listening, all the people who will ever listen to this podcast, if you had to give any of them advice or give any of them a message or anything, what would you want to tell people right now?
well, this is what I say at the end of my lecture when I talk about symbolism. And I think it sums it up better than the expression of my heart, because it was the expression of my heart when I wrote it. Symbolisms are items coming together to create a philosophy, an idea, an understanding of your world and how you choose to navigate that world. The same symbol may have different meanings, and that you will understand which is right. Honor yourself and allow no one to dictate what language you speak to your deepest parts. So
Wow.
Nice.
you
Very
be
nice.
you, and yeah, everything will be fine.
So just
Yeah.
go be your authentic self. Just go be you.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with that. What's your favorite symbol?
The septagram.
Oh, really? Do you have a picture of one?
Heptagram.
Yes. It's a 7-pointed star, and it's on my tarot cloth, and it came to me, and I remodeled a bunch of houses. I bought foreclosures and a septagram, and I have the points labeled and the middle labeled. The right side covers the left hemisphere, the left side, the right, because you switch them. And then they all come together at the top with wisdom, and they revolve around balance. I can grab that and show it. It's kind of big if you want to see it, but
Yeah, sure. Sure. Go ahead and
Yeah.
grab it. Matt, in the meantime, while he's grabbing it, what's your favorite symbol?
Well, you remember the never-ending story?
Yeah.
Ouroboros.
Say that again.
The Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail on the book.
Oh,
You know, they had
yeah. What does
Yeah,
that
so-
symbol mean to you?
It's death, rebirth. You know, it's a cycle of life.
Regeneration.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's one of
I
my
agree.
favorites. I love the never-ending story. I watch it.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, okay, nice.
If you say something while you're holding it up, it'll go. The camera will shoot over to it.
okay. So basically, the 7-pointed star, Elven or Christianity, 7 is the number of creation. And in Elven theology, I suppose, it symbolizes magic. So it's about creating magic. The purple is intuition. The green is about abundance. And then, yeah,
That's beautiful. I love it.
it's just
Yeah.
powerful. It came to me, and there was a need to express it.
Uh-huh. I love it. I absolutely love it. I love that you use it in your, when you, on your table, and utilize its energy. I use things like crystals. Like this was given to me as a gift. I don't know if the camera can pick it up or not, but it's a particular type of quartz. I forget the name of the type of quartz it is, but it represents communication. And whenever I do any sort of communication, I feel like everything I say is amplified. Crystals, I feel like, are a form of symbolism too, because of what they energetically represent. But if I were to pick an actual symbol, I would definitely say the Om symbol and the Eye of Ra. And those two symbols, yeah, the Eye of Ra. Both those symbols came to me before I even knew what they meant. So I was a preteen and a teen or a young adult. And the first one that came to me was the Eye of Ra. And I still can't really quite grasp why, I feel called to it. And I don't think that it's important. I think it's the energy that it holds that's important. So I did that was my first tattoo that I have on my back. And I created, and again, I didn't know the meaning because I was really young at the time. I created a pyramid around it. And then I put my astrological, my sun, my moon, my rising glyphs on the outside of the 3 points of the pyramid, and energetically, kind of like how you are with that septium. How do you say it?
Septagram?
Septagram. I feel that way about the symbol I created out of the Eye of Ra, and then the Om. Whenever I do art, it just comes out. Like I just naturally want to create it. Like, and I don't even know. I don't quite understand why I feel the need to create it, but I just want to create it all the time.
So basically, that tattoo with all those sayings, your sigil.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's with the words and the colors, and that's my sigil. So the sigils are so varied that it's kind of hard, like I said, nailing Jello to a tree.
Yeah.
Because everybody's got a different idea.
I love that analogy. I'm gonna have to find a place where I can try and use that analogy. I love it. Nailing Jello to a tree. I could like see the green Jello trying to nail it to a tree.
It's great.
Well, thank you so much, Stephen. This was such a pleasure to sit with and talk with you today, and just discuss, the awesome topic of symbolism and everything else. Matt, do you want to help wrap it up? Is there anything you want to add before we go?
I mean, I don't know. I haven't even touched my notes here. Oh man. I mean, symbolism is runs rampant through my artwork, my paintings and stuff. I wanted to show you. This is almost like a sigil to me, I think. I made this 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I made this. All my oil paintings were 20 years ago. But it's just a symbol. It's something that came in my mind. And it's got the earth goddess. It's the earth symbol of the earth goddess within a triangle. And then you got the six right there. You got 3, you got 6, the color chart, the color wheel. I don't know. It's just something that, symbolism.
And then the colors themselves. You've got self-love in there. The background is like infinite wisdom. So it was just, it was very cool. Thank you.
I love it. That's awesome. Well, Stephen, I definitely want to have you on again sometime. If you get freed up, I know you're doing lots of interviews, and if anybody wanted to get a reading with you, or to sit with you, or hear tarot from you, how do people get a hold of you?
Basically, I have my website is a good spot. It'll give you my schedule. I really don't start rolling until the middle of July, but once the middle of July comes, I'll have an expo like every other week. I can do online readings, but I just think they're a bit generic. They're like a clone's clone of a real reading, because you sit there and part of the really great part of my readings, I think, are my dad jokes. And I just don't feel comfortable telling dad jokes online. I have an overhead camera, so you see the cards, and a lot of my reading is the symbols. Like I'll point out the symbols. I'll cite my sources. Like I said, I'm blue collar. I have a little trouble with saying, just trust me on this. I have a great confidence in the reason I'm saying that you have the material ability to do that is because the brooch. The fact that you have the intelligence to do that is because he's got 2 feathers in his hat. And in Renaissance time, 1 feather meant you could read, 2 feather meant you could write. Therefore, it's a symbol of intelligence for you. The fact that there's pillars in it, like the 4 of Wands, I'll read that as the 1111 card. Through these pillars lies your becoming, your self-actualization. Through these pillars is knowledge. And the pillars, basically the 1111, the pillars like on the Hierophant and the and the high priestess, basically they hold up heaven. So the pillars reach from earth to heaven, and the 1111, they connect
Yeah.
earth to, and that's how I see it. And I want the other people, because when you get a reading from me, you should leave there with an understanding of what's going on, and you should have an understanding that if you want to study a little bit, you too can do exactly the same thing I can. It's not a mystical thing. It's something that you just know your stuff. Know a little bit about your subject and relay it readily. And the thing about readings, kindness is king. So
Say that again.
kindness is king. So I mean, just if you treat people well, and the cards always do. Yeah.
So if you want a reading with Stephen, his website will be in the show notes. But I could tell you right here, it is draco11.website.com. And so it's DRACO 11 ELEVEN, draco11.website.com. And I will also tag Stephen in some of the social media so that you could try to reach out to him. And if you struggle finding him, feel free to just get a hold of me, and I'll make sure that I can connect you guys so that you could have a reading from him. I definitely don't think you'll be disappointed. And, with symbolism involved, he'll definitely make sure that not to nail any jello in the tree.
Great.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank
you, Stephen.
Very kind of you, Matt. Thank you.